The Nintendo Switch 2 has been on the market for one whole year, and what a year it has been for Nintendo. We got Donkey Kong back, Hyrule Warriors is still going strong, Yoshi and Kirby games came out, Mario Kart and Mario Tennis just keep going, Metroid Prime 4 finally released for Switch and Switch 2, some other dual releases, a bunch of Switch 2 editions. Yeah, maybe the Switch 2 is just another Switch after all, huh? Pokemon Pocopia, shut up and take my money! The Switch 2 is pretty successful, selling almost 20 million units within its first year on the market. Mario Kart World is the best-selling title so far, with 14 million copies sold, but it did get bundled with the Switch 2 for the first half of the year. Pokemon Pocopia and Donkey Kong Bonanza have sold over 4 million copies by themselves, with Pocopia doing it within its first 5 weeks on the market. So to call the Switch 2 a failure based on sales is just wrong. It has surpassed the Wii U's lifetime sales. What? But I can definitely see the argument for people who think that the hardware itself is a failure. I mean, it is called the Switch 2 after all, Nintendo was asking for this. From what I've heard, the third-party support has been pretty good. The games are actually competent versions compared to their versions on PlayStation and Xbox platforms. The only third-party game I have picked up for the system is Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, so I definitely don't have a dog in this race. In my personal opinion, the Switch 2 has been a purely fun experience, and I would like to take you all on my personal journey with the Switch 2. I made a personal vow to buy every single first-party title as they come out, so I'll only have myself to blame for my financial situation. I am going to take you all on my trip through the Switch 2's first year on the market and see if I still like my decisions or if I went into debt for no good reason. And since I have my wedding coming up in a couple of months, I'm sure Chloe would love to see how much money I've spent on stupid Nintendo games up against our wedding budget. I'm probably going to stay in the doghouse for a while. June 2025 kicked off with Mario Kart World, the Switch 2 editions of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, and the Nintendo GameCube emulator. Now, I already talked about these in my Switch 2 First Impressions video, and after owning them for a year, they're still pretty neat. In Mario Kart World, me and John grinded out all the unlockable outfits and characters, and me, John, and James played the Knockout Tour on the channel. It is a really fun game, and I definitely don't regret buying the physical copy of this game for $80.
You what?
Okay, I'll go outside. But what was definitely a waste of money is the Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. I have not played this game once since I tried it out back at launch. It is a fun little tour of the system, but for $10 it becomes less of a fun little tour and more like an admission to a museum or something. I still feel like this should have been bundled with the system, but I appreciate that they didn't force me to delete this application to make more space on my console. I'll just keep it on there since I spent $10 for it. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 editions. Now these were free alongside my Nintendo Switch Online Plus Expansion Pack membership, and I love Nintendo for them. The games look and run so much better than they did on Switch, I was honestly surprised. I went ahead and finally beat Breath of the Wild this way, and it was a wonderful experience. Nintendo also gave us the Nintendo GameCube emulator through the expansion pack membership, and I am so happy to see this. The service launched with F-Zero GX, Soul Calibur 2, and The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker. I still haven't gotten any further in F-Zero or Wind Waker, but me and John played a lot of Soul Calibur 2, with John going through the arcade mode as Taki. On June 10th, the Splatoon Research Lab dropped their new findings, which included a first look at the first spin-off game of the Splatoon series, Splatoon Raiders. Splatoon 3 also got an update that added more weapons, new stats, a badge system, Urchin Underpass from the first game returning, and better resolution and performance on Switch 2 consoles. Splatoon 3's update came a couple days later after this announcement, but we would have to wait a little longer to hear more on Splatoon Raiders. Now, I still haven't played any of the Splatoon games, but Splatoon Raiders might get me into the series. Overall, the first month of the Switch 2 was damn good, and I hope that the following months keep up this momentum. Moving on to July 2025, we got Donkey Kong Bonanza and Super Mario Party Jamboree Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus Jamboree TV. That was a mouthful. Nintendo definitely slowed down this month, but they gave us the one game that every Switch 2 owner has to play at some point. Donkey Kong Bonanza is an absolute masterpiece that gives the Switch 2 its first killer app. While Mario Kart World is a really good game and being unique compared to others in its series, its price point of $80 physically outside the Switch 2 bundle and just being another Mario Kart game at the end of the day makes it hard to justify it being the flagship title of the Switch 2. I already discussed what makes Donkey Kong Bonanza the Switch 2's flagship title in its own retrospective earlier this year, and once you get playing the game, I believe that you will understand where I'm coming from. Now what the fuck is this? We ought to go ahead and get this out of the way. Nintendo Switch 2 editions justify why the Switch 2 is just another Switch and a real waste of money. Well, fuck my first impressions argument. Nintendo takes a previous Switch game, adds some minor upgrades and some new content here and there, and sells the game at the Switch 2's higher price point of games. Hell, some Switch 2 editions come out day and day with their Switch versions, which makes these dual releases pointless to me. Plus, the physical versions of Switch 2 editions have a bunch of text obscuring the box art, which make these harder buys for some people. And the value of these editions, sheesh! They range anywhere from $5 to $20 depending on what content they bring. But don't you think some of these should be free? Or Nintendo could throw some of these upgrades in with the expansion pack membership like they did with the Switch Zelda titles? Like, come on! Yeah, these are a double-edged sword for me. It's cool to get upgraded versions of games for a better deal than paying full price for if they were released these as digital editions or whatnot. But it's also dumb that we have dual releases of editions of the same game, and some of these editions just don't add enough value to justify the cost. But Super Mario Party Jamboree Switch 2 Edition gave us Jamboree TV, which is basically just DLC for those who already own the Switch copy of the game, so bring it on. Welcome to Jamboree TV, where you get to be the next contestant on the show. Nice use of the camera there, look at that dumbass playing by himself. You can choose what game mode that you want to torture you and your friends with. Bowser Live uses the microphone to pretty mediocre minigames. Carnival Coaster is a different take on the river survival mode from Super Mario Party, which uses the mouse controls to shoot at enemies while you make your way to mouse-based minigames. And of course, there is the Mario Party mode with a few twists. Ooh! There is Frenzy mode, which just cuts the game down to 5 turns, so pretty nice for just playing a quick chaotic round of Mario Party. But the most exciting thing in this entire package for me is the Tag Team mode, which is a reimagined version of Partner Party from Super Mario Party. You and your partner can roll and move on your own, just like a regular match, but you can only have 3 items at any time, and you share coins and stars. The game mode gets rid of the Jamboree buddies and versus spaces in favor of the rally space, which gets both of you on the same space. You also get a coin bonus for landing on the same space as your partner, and a new item, the Together Dice, which brings your partner over to roll with you, which doubles your dice roll, items you get, and even stars. This game mode is so much fun, and I need to get John to play this with me sometime soon. You can play Jamboree TV locally, online, or with GameShare, so you have no reason to play by yourself anymore. Yeah, don't be me. This month might have been light for Nintendo in quantity, but the quality of these 2 games are stupendous and really sell the potential of the system. Rolling into August and September 2025, we got Dragon Drive, Kirby and the Forgotten Land Switch 2 Edition plus Starcrossed World, and my only third-party game for the system, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. Dragon Drive is the Switch 2 exclusive this time around, and it's pretty forgettable. I remember when Nintendo first revealed the game, I thought, hell yeah, Ableist Simulator! You play with dual mouse controls to move your character who is bound to a wheelchair, but that doesn't stop them from being able to ball. You use the motion controls to shoot, and honestly, this game is a pretty neat showcase for how to use the mouse and motion controls for any game developers out there. And that's about it. Honestly, this game didn't appeal to me, but I still appreciate it. This can be a ton of fun with the whole online aspect of the game, especially if you got some buddies you can tag along with. It's much safer than going to a city park to shoot some hoops, that's for sure. $20 is a bit steep in my opinion. I think $10 would be more reasonable, but hey, it's a neat little title. On the 19th of August, Masahiro Sakurai blessed us with a direct for his new project, Kirby Air Riders. A sequel to Kirby Air Ride on the Nintendo GameCube, he showed off the controls of the game, some characters, some sick rides, and a few stages and modes. This was really nice to see and gave us all something to look forward to. Later in August, we got the Switch 2 edition of Kirby and the Forgotten Land and DLC titled Star-Crossed World. This adds another mini-campaign to do where you go around the world finding the Starries so they can reseal the meteor that crashed down on the Forgotten Land. Once they try to reseal the meteor, however, the creature inside breaks free and absorbs all the Starries, and the creature is revealed to be Ginwell Medianephalus, the older brother of the antagonist of the base game, Fectoephalus. Kirby defeats him, and the Starries yeet him back into space to mess up another planet's life. Yep, that makes sense for a Kirby game. It is a great excuse to play through this game again, and I'd say it's definitely worth getting. Sonic Racing Cross Worlds is a really fun racing game. I'm starting to see a pattern here. Unlike the team aspect of Team Sonic Racing, this one's gimmick is the cross-world mechanic, where before the second lap you can choose which course to go to next. This game also has crossovers with different franchises through DLC, including Minecraft, SpongeBob, Mega Man, Angry Birds, crazy stuff. This game is honestly really fun, and I need to get Brigade to play it with me sometime. The game later got a Switch 2 edition in December, and it smooths out the game beautifully. I did have fun in these 2 months of the Switch 2, but it was definitely light in terms of games. But thank God we got a Nintendo Direct. September 12th, we got a Nintendo Direct loaded with the goods we were craving. It opened up with the 40th anniversary of the Super Mario series, which in terms of games, we got Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2 re-released on the Switch with some extra content. Next! Mario Tennis Fever was announced as the new Mario sports game coming to Switch 2 in February. Okay, it could be worse. A Switch 2 edition of Super Mario Bros. Wonder and DLC Meet Up in Bellabelle Park were revealed, which honestly pumped me up. And the Switch 2 exclusive Yoshi and the Mysterious Book was revealed, which was great to see as well. Tomodachi Life Livin' the Dream was announced for the Switch, which was cool to see the series return after people thought it was dead and buried on the 3DS. Kirby Air Riders got some unique amiibo that allow you to swap riders, just like Skylanders Swap Force did with its figures, which is pretty cool. Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment was revealed, and it looks amazing, with a release date of November 6th. Nintendo finally blessed us with the Virtual Boy emulator, and a headset that you have to have in order to play the games. That's a little rough. But hey, I got plenty of money, so why not buy it? Metroid Prime 4 Beyond finally popped back up, with a look at the open world aspect of the game and a December 4th release date. Donkey Kong Bonanza got some DLC that dropped with the Direct, which added DK Island to explore and an Emerald Rush mode. The savior of the Switch 2 came in the form of Pokemon Pokopia, but we would have to wait for 2026 to come around. Instead, Pokemon Legends ZA was revealed to be getting a Switch 2 edition, and showed off a new battle system which included you actually getting attacked by Pokemon. This game was given a release date of October 16th, and they also showed DLC for the game, which I thought was dumb to reveal before the base game even came out, but whatever. And at the end of the Direct, we got a trailer for Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave with a 2026 release window. Pretty cool, I guess, but this is still all we have heard about this game, so we'll see how it plays out. Overall, not a bad Direct, but for me personally, it didn't have that one title that stood out to me. Now, sure, I have played most of these games by now, and I do enjoy them, but at the time, I wasn't too fond of what was shown off. My first time watching this Direct, I was most excited for the Virtual Boy emulator. And that goes to show you how much of a dumbass I am. Now in the last quarter of the year, Nintendo had plenty of games for us to play. October 2025 gave us Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2 re-released, and Pokemon Legends ZA. The Galaxy titles added enhanced resolution, improved user interface, extra chapters in the storybook, and a new assist mode. It's great to finally have another version of Super Mario Galaxy 2 to play, and I will beat these games eventually. Pokemon Legends ZA, I had a really fun time playing through this game. You step foot in Luminos City and get recruited to help make Hotel Z the best of the best. You also get to join the Battle Royale, where you have to climb from rank Z to rank A. Oh, now I get the title. The gameplay is still Pokemon battles, but the combat ditches turn-based in favor of real-time combat. Now you can also be attacked and faint alongside your Pokemon, making the game more realistic, but also terrifying. There are a lot of Pokemon to catch, and there is a giant overarching story, so maybe I'll cover this game in its own retrospective one day, but it is really fun. November 2025 brought us two Switch 2 exclusives, those being Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment and Kirby Air Riders. I was honestly scared to try out the Hyrule Warriors series. Seeing so many enemies on the screen, I didn't even know how to deal with that. But I decided to try out Age of Imprisonment, and now I understand why these games are so addicting. It is so satisfying to mow down enemies in this game. You can play as several characters, swapping between them freely to get crazy combos, pull off special moves, and getting to see how each character interacts with each other is so cool. I will definitely make a retrospective for this game one day. It is so much fun and a wonderful surprise for how much I would love it. Now, Kirby Air Riders didn't hit as hard for me personally as it did others, but that's also probably because this is the third racing game I've played in the first 5 months of the Switch 2's life. But it is still pretty cool. It's like Super Smash Bros. In the sense that anyone can play it and have a good time. But once you get a hold of a specific character, you will start to master your own fighting style and experience the game with your own unique flair. Unfortunately, I haven't played very much of this game, but maybe one day I'll get back to it and really get to know the ins and outs of the gameplay. And December 2025, Nintendo ended the year with Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, the Mega Dimension DLC for Pokemon Legends ZA, and my only third-party game, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, got a Switch 2 edition. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, after waiting 8 years for this game to release, came out to a resounding meh. Now that's not to say the game is a hunk of garbage. It is a really well designed and fun game to play, but it doesn't do much more than that. The game added an open world aspect that pretty much acts like a giant hub world. It is absolutely barren and just adds another open world game to Nintendo's catalog that really seems to be losing its luster. The levels, enemies, and bosses are really fun and bring back the joys of the previous Prime games. But the game doesn't innovate the series as much as people were hoping for. It also took Retro Studios nearly 5 years to develop the game after Nintendo gave them the reins from Bandai Namco, who started the project in 2017, so it definitely overhyped what was to come. It is unfortunate that the game didn't make as much of an impact as people were hoping, but it is still a great game nonetheless. Now, for the Mega Dimensions DLC, I still haven't bought it, so all I can say is that's pretty cool. Something I failed to mention about the Switch 2 edition of Sonic Racing Cross Worlds was I forgot it even got a Switch 2 edition. So I just bought it a couple of weeks ago, and it is so much better than the Switch version. So the first 6 months of the Switch 2 were pretty good. We did have a lot of Switch 2 editions versus Switch 2 exclusives, but hopefully 2026 will bring us more Switch 2 exclusives and really justify the purchase of this new console. That's pretty funny. January 2026 gave us Animal Crossing New Horizons Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. Son of a bitch! I honestly have not touched this game in years, but yeah, I'll touch it eventually. February 2026, Nintendo came out swinging with Mario Tennis Fever, Virtual Boy Emulator, a re-release of Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, and the digital release of Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition Switch 2 Edition. That was another mouthful. Mario Tennis Fever is the triumphant return of the Mario Tennis series, with this one's gimmick messing with your racket. Each racket has its own unique twist once you fill up your fever point bar. Once you have enough fever points, it's time to unleash a fever shot, which, depending on what racket you use, can flip the game on its head. There is a story mode where everyone gets turned into babies, and you have to learn how to play tennis all over again to go on a crusade to turn back to normal. There are a ton of characters to play, but where the fuck is Monty Mole? Damn it! There are also several game modes to play in, which all have their merits. This game is honestly fun, and I'm glad to see that the sports games are doing well on the Switch and Switch 2. Speaking of Mario Tennis, you can now see where the series got its start on the Virtual Boy. Ew! The failure of a Nintendo console finally gets some love on this failure of a Nintendo console. You have to buy one of these headsets to be able to play the games. I bought this one, which recreates the form factor of the Virtual Boy, which it's pretty surreal to finally own the Virtual Boy. You open the hatch, slide your Switch 2 in there, and now you can play the 7 titles that launched with the service. 3D Tetris, Galactic Pinball, Golf, Innsmouth no Yakata, Red Alarm, Teleroboxer, and Virtual Boy Wario Land. I played a little bit of Wario Land, which is a really fun platformer where you can jump from the foreground to the background depending on the situation. It is really great to have these games playable on a modern system, even if you get sick an hour into playing. Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition got a Switch 2 edition announced out of nowhere, with its digital release coming out on February 19th and a physical release coming out in April. I waited to buy the physical release, so I'll wait a little longer to talk about it. The Pokemon Company decided to bless us with a digital re-release of Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. I had heard my coworkers talking about the games coming to Switch 2, and I honestly didn't think that it would happen, but it sure did. I went ahead and bought Fire Red for $20, and I played through the story of the game and loved it. Me and my coworker brought our consoles to work and did some trading to build our Pokédex and to evolve some Pokemon. It's great to see the Game Boy Advance here. I just love getting my nostalgia boner fondled. I'm glad that I finally own this game, and I didn't buy a loose cartridge of the game for way more money just to play it. At the end of the month, the Pokemon Company put out a Pokemon Presents, which at its end gave us our first look at the next generation of Pokemon, that being Pokemon Winds and Waves. We also got a look at the starters of this region, Brout, Pombon, and Gekwa. The game looks spectacular, and it looks like it'll be another open world romp like Scarlet and Violet were. Let's hope it performs way better than those games did. February was a pretty good month for the Switch 2, all things considered. But all make way for the savior. March 2026 brought us the savior of the Switch 2, Pokemon Pokopia. And Super Mario Bros. Wonder Switch 2 Edition plus Meet Up in Bellabelle Park, I guess. Whenever Pokopia was first revealed, I figured this game would be just Pokemon Animal Crossing and nothing more. It is, but it is also so much more than that. You play as a Ditto that apparently misses its trainer so much that it copies its trainer in the best way that a Ditto possibly can. You meet Professor Tangrowth, a Pokemon who tells you that this land was abandoned by humans, and thus became so trashy that Pokemon left the area as well. But after saving a Squirtle, you copy its water gun ability and begin to bring the withered wasteland back to life. This game definitely feels like it is going to have a big story that plays out as you continue through the game. But no spoilers, I'm slowly but surely playing through the game as we speak. From what I've heard from people online, and my coworker who actually owns a Switch 2 as well, this game is spectacular and another most owned title for the Switch 2. But too bad I couldn't bring myself to buy this game physically, because let me rant about game keycards. Game keycards are physical cartridges that just have a digital code loaded in them. That means that you have to go onto the eShop and download the game to your system. But just like a physical game, you have to have the cartridge plugged in to play the game, because although the game is downloaded onto your system, the digital code to access the game files is in the cartridge itself. So you own the game digitally, but you have to have the physical key plugged into your system to play the digital game, which means that these are fucking stupid. And the best part is, the base game files for Pokopia are less than 10 gigabytes, and the Switch 2 cartridges can hold 16 gigabytes in their smallest cartridge size, and 64 gigabytes at their biggest size. So there's absolutely no reason for this game to have a game keycard release, other than the fact that the Pokemon Company didn't want to bother spending some of the billions of dollars that they have to put the game on a physical cartridge. Fuck me! But let's not forget the Switch 2 edition of Super Mario Bros. Wonder. It brought us Rosalina as a playable character and a new campaign in Meetup in Bellabelle Park. Thank you, Nintendo. Mario and the gang take a minecart ride where they get attacked by the Koopalings and get knocked off the rails. The character that you play as ends up in Bellabelle Park, a newly discovered ancient area of the Flower Kingdom that Captain Toad and the Toad Brigade have been exploring. Captain Toad explains that the Bellabelle flower has been stolen by the Koopalings, and asks if you would help the Toad Brigade with tracking them down. After accepting the challenge, you can go to the different areas of the Flower Kingdom and find the Toad Brigade camps to take on each Koopaling. The Koopalings use the Wonder Flowers given to them by Bowser to make the level that you have played through before trip out in a whole new way. Each Koopaling has their own unique fight gimmicks that are slightly more difficult than the last. Once you defeat all the Koopalings, you restore the Bellabelle flower to its former glory, and Bellabelle Park is back in business. If you have already 100%ed the game, you'll notice that some of your medals are missing. That's because you have to re-earn your 100% completion for the Switch 2 version, which includes getting all the standees for Rosalina, collecting all the new dual badges which combine certain badges together to add more fun to your life, and decorating Bellabelle Park with so many flowers. Yeah, the last one took me a few days to complete, but I re-achieved my 100% completion of this game, which is so satisfying. There is also a whole multiplayer section of Bellabelle Park that you can play with some buddies on the couch, or play online. I don't have any friends who appreciate the fun of this game, and I don't feel like playing online, so I haven't played any of these minigames. Also, this game allows you to switch back over to the Switch version of the game. I'm scared to touch this. March 2026 felt like another July 2025 for me. Quality over quantity for sure, but the quality is pretty damn good. April 2026 brought us Pokemon Champions, Tomodachi Life Livin' the Dream, and the physical version of Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition Switch 2 Edition. I have absolutely no interest in Pokemon Champions, which is a free-to-play Switch game that is also getting a mobile phone version. So I haven't played this game, and from what I've heard, it's not a good game. Tomodachi Life Livin' the Dream, on the other hand, I have heard wonderful things about this game. I remember playing the Tomodachi game that Nintendo put out on smartphones a few years ago, and I liked it enough to warrant me buying Living the Dream. But I still haven't played the game, but I'll get to it eventually. So I went to my local Walmart to pick up Xenoblade Chronicles X's Switch 2 edition, and they didn't have it in their inventory or even listed on their shelves. So I went to my local GameStop as soon as they opened, and I asked if they had any copies of the game. They pulled out the one copy that was shipped to them, made sure that it wasn't a pre-ordered copy, and that's how I got my hands on my first Xenoblade game. Now, just like every other game that's come out this month, I haven't played it yet, but I do feel a little more confident owning these, as I say sitting in my doghouse. At the end of April, we got a closer look into what Splatoon Raiders is going to be. It will be a single-player focused game, and it looks like it'll be expanding on the Salmonids from the Splatoon 2 single-player campaign. It also looks to be another open-world game, but it does look freaky solid. I'm definitely more excited to check this game out, and I look forward to buying it when it comes out on July 23rd. Yeah, April was pretty abysmal for Switch 2 content, but picture this. It's May 6th, 2026. Nintendo goes live on their YouTube channel with a Star Fox Direct. I tune in on my lunch break at work. Shigeru Miyamoto tells me that the title of the game is simply Star Fox. I think to myself, oh no. Yoshiaki Koizumi prefaces the showcase by stating,
Star Fox is based on the Nintendo 64 game, Star Fox 64, but the visuals have been completely updated.
They can't keep getting away with this! Nintendo, let me ask you something. What the fuck? The next Star Fox game that has been rumored and leaked to be in development is just another mix-up of the same damn story from Star Fox 64. Other than that, the game does look really good. The gameplay looks beautiful, the levels look fun to traverse, and oh, what the fuck is that? Yeah, they decided to give the characters a more realistic animal design, which gives off memories of their puppets from the first game's box art. But who asked for this? The game has mouse controls for aiming, which I might like over the more traditional controls, and they added support for the camera. You can see what it's like to be a VTuber on Game Chat, which works a lot better than you would think. I honestly don't know how well this game will do, but we'll see when it drops on June 25th. May also brought us Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, which I just started playing last week, but I do enjoy what I have played so far. The game starts out with Bowser Jr. finding a mysterious book in a castle. He finds a page regarding the Bewilder Bird, and he decides to check into it. He goes off to the island where the book showed the bird flying around, and he sees a magnifying glass hanging from the book. He takes a look through it, and the magnifying glass sucks him into the book. Later, the Yoshis find the crash site of the Koopa clown car, and they see the book. The book springs to life and reveals his name as Mr. E. He tells the Yoshis that he would love to know the contents of his pages, but he cannot remember what they say. So the Yoshis agree to help him out and use the magnifying glass to get into the pages. You go around the levels messing around with creatures and document how they taste, how they react to certain things that you do to them, how they interact with the world around them. It is pretty cool. I will definitely keep playing through the game and see how much fun I will end up having with it. It's pretty crazy to see that the Unreal Engine was used for this game instead of all the edits that people make online. Take that, idiots. And that is all the games for the first year of the Switch 2 that I messed with, and what a start for the new console. Sure, there were a ton of Switch 2 additions compared to Switch 2 exclusives, but hey, all the games were pretty good, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. I had fun playing through them all, and I am looking forward to see what else Nintendo brings me to play this coming year. I also got some new accessories throughout the year, starting off with a new carrying case that actually has a handle. This is the Walmart's brand Switch 2 case, and although it's not the exact same as the one for my Switch, it's close enough. This bad boy fits my console nice and secure. It has a little flap to put cartridges in, and has a pouch that I keep my straps and wired earbuds in. Now I can carry my Switch 2 to work with confidence rather than just carrying it in a sack. I don't remember when I bought the case, but February 2026 was the time for new accessories. We got a new set of Joy-Con 2s that launched alongside Mario Tennis Fever, which were light green and purple. I still haven't busted them out, but it's nice to see a different color slapped on there. Alongside Resident Evil Requiem's release, we got a new Switch 2 Pro controller. Who saw this one coming? This controller has an all-black color scheme, and the front plate has different newspaper clippings from the game stitched together. It's pretty eerie. It's pretty cool to see that Nintendo did this for this game. It makes me wonder what other games will get a Pro controller for them. Now, will I pick up Resident Evil Requiem since I got the Pro controller for the game? Well, considering Capcom could have put the game on a Switch 2 cartridge, since the base game files are right at 30 gigabytes, but instead did a game keycard release, I think I'm not going to buy it. It's definitely not because I'm scared to play horror games unless I have Sammy with me. Yeah, definitely not that. That was my experience with the first year of the Nintendo Switch 2, and I had a blast with my new console. Donkey Kong Bonanza was hands down my favorite Switch 2 game this year, with Age of Imprisonment being my second favorite, I'd say. Mario Kart World and Sonic Racing Cross Worlds were both solid games, and maybe I'll play more Kirby Air Riders at some point. Pokemon Legends ZA was a refreshing experience for Pokemon that I had a fun time playing through. Pokemon Pokopia is a new Pokemon experience altogether that I will check into every now and then, and I'm glad that I finally got to play Pokemon Fire Red. Mario Tennis Fever gives me hope for the revival of the Mario Sports series. I'm glad to see that we can play GameCube games here, and that the Virtual Boy finally got some love. Although Dragon Drive and the Switch 2 Welcome Tour weren't my cup of tea, I can appreciate what they showcased for the Switch 2. And although I bitched about the amount of Switch 2 editions and compared to Switch 2 exclusives, the ones we got are fun to play. Super Mario Bros. Wonders Switch 2 Edition takes the cake for me, with Super Mario Party Jamboree Switch 2 Edition in a close second. And it's great to see that Metroid Prime 4 finally came out, and it's not bad. The accessories I picked up this year are nice to have as well. Overall, I'd say that the Switch 2 had a pretty good first year, and I am looking forward to many more years of the Switch 2 to come. My experience with the Nintendo Switch 2 so far has been wonderful. I have been able to get all the first-party titles as they have launched, and it's shown me that I need to get another shelf. The new games have surprised me with how much fun I would have, and the updates to my current Switch collection have been great additions as well. The accessories are always nice to pick up along the way, and these are great additions to my collection. This was my first time getting to experience the first full year of a system's life, and the Nintendo Switch 2 was not a bad console to experience it with. Even though Chloe might not share the same sentiment.